Today we're going to discuss the importance of the vouch. What's up, everybody? Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Today, I've got a heavily requested video. A lot of people have been hitting me up and asking me to talk about the vouch. And in talking about the vouch, I'm also going to talk about the recommendation, the referral, the who books that, because all of these things are very important when it comes to stand-up. And apparently some people have been having some, let's call it sticky situations when it comes to this kind of thing. And I would like to see if maybe I can help some people avoid some of the pitfalls involved with it. I'll see if I can help some people to keep from getting their feelings hurt. And also, I just want to talk about really the importance of the vouch, the recommendation, the referral. Before we get started, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help me on the algorithm, and it really does give me motivation to keep doing Comedy Tip Tuesdays and the will to live. So, here's the thing. For anyone that's not familiar with what the vouch is, you should be. It's just somebody vouching for you. It's just somebody saying, hey, I think this person is funny. But what you have to remember, and I want to start off with this, is when a person is saying, hey, I think this person is funny, not only are they saying, hey, I think this person is funny, they're saying, hey, I think this person is funny. This person is professional. This person is going to do what you need them to do or what they commit to do. That's very important. And the reason that I was kind of hesitant to talk about this was only because I wanted to make sure I kind of had my ducks in a row and knew the kinds of things that I wanted to say, because like vouchers, referrals, and recommendations are one of the most important things when it comes to a stand-up, especially a newer stand-up, because people can talk about, like, you know, I sent out this many clips to this many bookers. Nothing will get you booked quicker. Nothing will get you more work than word of mouth. And that's just what it is. I'd like to lie to you and say, hey, if you just send out this many videos every day, you're going to get this much work back. We all know a lot of times bookers aren't the best at responding to people, and I don't blame the bookers for that, because I've seen the other side of that when I've been booking any kind of, like, I booked a comedy festival at one point. Well, it was my comedy festival. Sometimes I book stuff on the road, and you get flooded with stuff. So you don't always get a chance to get back to somebody, and that's just me booking every once in a while for something. I can't imagine what bookers that do this every day go through on a daily basis. So it is the most important that you treat vouchers like gold. If somebody's actually willing to stick their neck out for you and say that they think you're funny, that they think you're professional, that you're going to be able to handle this job, you need to do your best to do everything the best way you can possibly do it, the most professional way that you can possibly do it. And when it comes to me and vouchers, I'm not always the quickest to jump in and put my neck out, because I do have a really good reputation when it comes to that, because I don't refer everybody. I just don't recommend a lot of people when it comes to dealing with bookers and stuff like that. Some people get mad at me because I'm not as willing to just give up vouchers as other people are. But I have a good reputation in that like the people that I recommend to do things usually end up killing it, the places that I recommend them, and the people that I pick are always on the professional side. You know, even if they're open micers, they're still behaving like professionals. They're getting there early. They're getting there on time at the latest. They're staying clean if they say they're going to stay clean. They're doing what it is they're supposed to do. They're filling their time, you know, which is very important. And so with me, I'm a little bit less likely on that. Also, I like to space my recommendations out. So sometimes somebody will hit me up and they're perfectly professional and they are funny, but I just referred somebody to that same club the week before, that same booker a couple weeks before, and I don't feel comfortable sending something out so quickly after. So sometimes it's that, and it's not anything to feel or take personally, because it's not at all me speaking on your comedy. If I have another friend that I know that's in at that club and can possibly recommend you, I might have them do it or see if they can do it for me. But I personally at that time can't recommend somebody else, which I had that happen to a friend of mine. She was referring several comics to a particular booker, and finally the booker just sent her an email saying, hey, you're not helping me book this club. And she got the message loud and clear, but It's just like that can get kind of messy. Then there's the who books that, people will ask you who books things. And I kind of get weird with this one sometimes because I know what a lot of people will do. And I'm going to tell you guys, this is the one thing you don't ever do when it comes to recommendations, referrals, and vouchers. Don't ever say that a comic referred you if that comic did not refer you. There is nothing worse than you lying and saying that somebody sent you over when they didn't send you over. Nothing will get you in more trouble with the comic that you said that had referred you. Nothing will make you look worse to the booker that you lied to. Do not, under any circumstances, do that ever. And that's the best advice I'm going to give you on this particular episode is do not make the mistake of overstepping and deciding, well, I'm just going to say so-and-so recommended me. I know they think I'm funny. I know sometimes they don't think you're funny and they just have been too nice to tell you that. Like sometimes you think like, obviously they think I'm funny. And it's like, no, I didn't think you were funny at all. Technically, I think you're terrible. And I would have never recommended you for anything. So I don't know why you went to that booker and told them that I recommended you. See, because that's the other thing with me and referrals personally, is I'm not always the quickest to give out referrals. Because if I refer you or recommend you to somebody, not only am I going to like tell you that you have my blessing to tell this particular booker that I said that I think you're funny, I will also personally send that booker a message and just be like, hey, be on the lookout for my friend so-and-so. He's actually really funny. He's actually really professional. He's going to be getting in contact with you. I told him that he could use me as a recommendation. And I do have certain friends that just have an open pass with me. It's like, I know you're funny. I know you're professional. So anytime you want to use my name, feel free to use my name. But even them, I tell them, hit me up ahead of time so that I can send them a message so that they'll know to be expecting you. Because sometimes, and again, this isn't a knock on the booker, but it's just what it is. Sometimes they won't respond to somebody's message. Sometimes I do have to personally hit them up and be like, hey, so-and-so is going to be on the way. So that's another thing. And yeah, like I said, because I've had that happen to several friends recently where comics that they've met at open mics have went and said to other bookers that they had referred them and they had recommended them, and that was not in fact true. And it did cause an uncomfortable situation. And the comic that without checking actually got mad at the other comic because the comic was like, yeah, I didn't refer you. So very important. But like I said, treat it like gold when it comes to these things, because in stand-up comedy, it really is like your word is all you have. So if I say that somebody's good, funny, and professional, I need that person to be good, funny, and professional. And when it comes to the funny part, if you're actually trying your best and you end up bombing anyway, I know most of us as comics aren't going to get mad at you or hold that against you or look at that really as a strike. Well, I might look at it as a little bit of a strike, to tell you the truth. Just being honest. But I'm not necessarily going to hold it against you because maybe it just wasn't a good night. But another thing I'll tell you to never do when somebody refers you is do not go to that club, that spot, that guest set, whatever it is you get booked for, and suddenly decide you're going to try brand new material for the entire set. I would say in that kind of situation, don't do any new material at all. Only do stuff kills it so that you have the best chance of killing it and making the person that referred you look as good as they can possibly look, because that's what this is about. You have to remember that, yeah, this is your set, but at the same time, it's another person's word. It's another person that put their neck out for you. So you want to have the most chances of doing the best you can actually do so that you make me look good. So the next time that I refer somebody, they're like, yeah, that one guy you sent over killed it. So of course, I'll take another one of your recommendations. Because the way it used to work old school, and I know it's not like this anymore in a lot of spots, but when I first started doing comedy, the way it used to work is if I referred somebody and they didn't do well, in a lot of cases, that meant I wasn't coming back to that particular spot, or they were going to put me on ice for a little while before I went back to that particular spot, because they wanted to punish you for sending them somebody that wasn't actually good. And like I said, I know that a lot of places aren't like that anymore, but that really was legit the way it was when I was coming up. So you always wanted to do as good as you possibly could do. And especially if you're a newer person, because if you're a newer person and you're trying to work your way up, these little vouchers and recommendations, referrals, especially the ones that happen in your town, like if a bigger comic is like, hey, go check out this club, I know this guy, and like, refers you, they can lead to you getting more and more work and then building on your own. And then you need less and less vouchers and referrals. Then people just know what it is you do. Then you can start working your way out to other cities. If, like I said, if it's a bigger comic and you made them look good, they're going to be likely the next time you're going out of town, if they know anybody that's out of town, or if they know that the club owner or the club booker in that particular city that you're going to give you a referral. And that's going to snowball into you getting more work because more comics are going to see you. And then they're going to be like, oh, who recommended you? And it's the whole thing that feeds itself. And it really is something that's to be taken seriously. Like that, I cannot drive home enough for you, is when it comes to vouchers and referrals, take them as seriously as you can possibly take them. If you're a newer comic, like I said, they can help you a lot. Even comics that have been around for a while, like me, I still get vouchers and referrals from people, but in a lot of cases, they're just people that are a lot higher up, and so, but I still go into my open micer mindset, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean, like, in that way, like, okay, starting from the bottom, gotta be as funny as I can possibly be, as professional as I can possibly be, because this isn't my situation to mess up. This is somebody else's name on the line here, and I've got to make them look as good as I can possibly make them look. And I'm 19 years in. And this is literally the way I feel about it when I get referred to somebody, when I get recommended. I'm like, yes, I've got to make this person look as good as I can possibly make them look, so their word stays good with this particular booker. So, that would be my advice. And yeah, what I was saying when it comes to who books that, like, sometimes when you ask somebody who books a particular thing, you have to remember that there are certain bookers, like in LA especially. I remember there was this one particular show that was a very popular show. There were 3 bookers for that show. None of the 3 bookers wanted like the general public to know who booked the show. So they used to, like, between the 3 of them, they used to like pass it off to each other as far as, like just kind of passing the buck sort of thing. But if you got booked by one of them, because the secret to this show was all 3 of them booked. So all 3 of them could book you, but they would always just play it off like, well, that's so-and-so's job. That's so-and-so's job, just so they didn't ever have to do it. So I didn't know what I could and couldn't say as far as that went. And I knew that if, because they would book me regularly, but I also knew that they weren't going to be happy if I was telling open micers who actually booked the show, because then these open micers would bug them. And there was this one particularly unfunny, annoying open micer that would always try to bug me. And so one day she comes up to me after I just finished doing that show. I'm at the venue still, and she's like, oh, Ty, who books this? And I was like, I don't really know who books it specifically. And then she was like, well, then how did you get booked? And I was like, 'cause I just did. And then she was like, yeah, but I mean, like, who is it you get your email from, or who do you send an email to? And I was like, let me get out of here. And she thought I was being rude, and I guess maybe you could say I was being rude, but the thing is, I'm not going to give her the email because I don't feel comfortable, and don't make me feel uncomfortable about the situation, because I don't actually want to give you the contact information for these people that don't want their contact information given out anyway. When I originally got booked for that show, it was because they approached me out of nowhere. It wasn't like I had approached them in any way or even been recommended to them. They had just seen me. One of the guys was a comic. He had seen me at several little spots, and he was like, hey, do you want to do my show? And that's the way it worked out. And the other thing, more importantly, was I knew that this comic was going to go back and tell them, hey, Thai Rivera gave me your information, which is a way of trying to make it seem like I gave her a recommendation without saying that I gave her a recommendation. So even though she's not going to lie and say that I had recommended her, she is going to say it in a way that makes it sound like she had my recommendation. So I didn't want to give out the information to her. I didn't want to tell her anything. I didn't think she was funny, and that's what it is, and that's something you have to accept as another comic. Sometimes other comics don't like what you do, don't stand behind you, do what you do, don't want to refer you, don't want to recommend you, and don't want to vouch for you, and that's something that you just need to accept if you're going to be a stand-up comic. Every once in a while, somebody's going to feel like, yeah, you don't have my recommendation, you don't have my vouch, and instead of putting them in that position and making them actually tell you that, how about you just take a polite, I don't know who books that, or them kind of blowing you off in the nicest way possible, because every once in a while in this business, that's going to happen. And I hope that covered vouchers, referrals, and recommendations for you guys. I think I gave you what it is, why it is they're important, how it is you should treat them. Like I said, 100% professionalism. Try as hard as you can to do as well as you can. At the end of the day, if you don't do well and you were doing a material and you were trying your best, I'm not going to hold it against you that you didn't do well, but I might slow down on giving you referrals and recommendations because maybe you're not in a position to be able to do what it is I need you to do so that my word stays good. And if the booker calls me and tells me that you actually didn't do well, but you were trying your best type of thing, it was just a rough room or something like that, then yeah, there probably will be a pass made because the booker himself told me that that was a particularly rough situation. But as far as, if you just don't do well, I'm sorry you didn't do well, but don't hit me up again asking me for anything else for a little while. Let yourself grow a little bit, let it marinate, do your best to improve, and then we can revisit the situation later on. Oh, the other thing, if you hit me up because you're coming in from out of town and you're like, what shows can I do in town? And I give you, and I tell you, like, these are the shows you can do. And then you hit me back with, yeah, but I don't want to do anything on Wednesday. Thursday, I have a wedding. So it's really just the Monday and I'm not your agent. Don't bug me with any of that stuff. So also remember that. Make sure you're as open as possible when you hit people up about stuff when it comes to that kind of thing, because nobody wants to pretend they're your agent. Nobody wants to work around your schedule. Nobody wants to help you figure it out. You make it as easy as possible for the person that's trying to help you out. That's another thing I would tell you when it comes to these kinds of things. Anyway, hit me up if you have any questions. I think I covered everything. Like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Comedy Tip Tuesdays. I'm Thai Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.